everyone, my name is Lori. Here are some of the top reasons to upgrade to GP 2010. We'll walk through each of these features, including the new SQL reporting services, charts, and KPIs that come out of the box with GP 2010. The Microsoft Dynamics GP Business Analyzer that allows the SQL reporting services, KPIs, and graph reports to be viewed, even by non-GP users. The new email features allowing emailing of documents to customers, vendors, and colleagues from within GP. Integration with Microsoft Office, including Word, Excel, and Outlook. Navigation list performance improvements have been made, so really they're more useful in GP 2010 than they were in version 10. Drill back functionality was added with the GP 2010, and new security features that make setting up security easier in GP 2010. So the new SQL reporting services can now comes with a series of charts and KPIs that can be displayed directly on the home screen for GP using the metrics. And I placed 4 samples on this screenshot. There are links on each of these charts and KPIs that launch a corresponding SQL reporting services chart that can be used for further analysis into the data that you see on these KPIs. The new Microsoft Dynamics GP Business Analyzer is an application that comes with GP and allows you to open and manage GP SQL reporting service reports directly from your desktop without even logging into GP. It also allows you to easily provide a tool for non-GP users to analyze information pulled from GP. So you can see here I just took a screenshot of the application to show you a sample of what Business Analyzer will look like. So documents can be emailed directly from GP to customers and vendors, including sales quotes, orders, invoices, and receivables documents to customers, and purchase orders and vendor remittances for vendors. In addition, any GP report with report options screen can now be emailed from GP. This is a sample of an invoice I emailed from the demo GP 2010 company, where I specified what I wanted the subject to be and the content of the email in addition to the attachment. And to highlight the integration with Microsoft Office, I just created this sample of a sales invoice and used the new Words form feature. I just opened that invoice that I had on the email in the previous slide. This is an out-of-box format of the sales invoice Word form. I didn't have to do any additional customization for this format. Now, navigation lists were introduced in GP version 10. With the release of GP 2010 R2, they were all re-architected by Microsoft so that the information appears much more quickly. One of the examples they gave us, the sales transaction list, they've timed it, the data appears 360% faster. So they've made significant improvements and really just made the lists more usable in GP 2010. This particular sample I have on the screen is actually using the new Navigation List Builder tool. So I built this navigation list from within GP. Similar to Smart List Builder, and it comes with Smart List Builder. Allows you to add more columns than are available with the out-of-the-box navigation list. And the new drill back capability in GP 2010 allows users to drill from SRS or Excel reports to a related GP window. In this example here, I used the SQL Reporting Services chart to drill into another SRS Receivable Summary report, which you can see in the background here. Then I drilled further on one particular document, the SBC 1000 there. I clicked on that link that opened the corresponding receivables transaction window that you see in the foreground. So this drill back capability is available out of the box with GP 2010. So I wanted to mention some security improvements. From a systems engineer standpoint, this is really helpful. Security improvements made with GP 2010. So in this first example here, I've got on the left-hand side the new user setup screen. You can see they've added that copy access button to the toolbar. That is helpful when you're creating a user in GP that has the same company access or similar company access and security roles of another user. It's pretty easy just to copy the entire information from one user to another without having to open up multiple screens to set up security for a new hire. The second example shows the new Display Selected Tasks checkbox in GP 2010. This allows you to quickly view only the selected tasks on a security role setup screen. And this feature also shows up on a number of security setup screens, including the user security. So on the left is the old GP10 screen. You can see that there is no display selected tasks. So if I want to see what roles are included or what tasks are included in this role, I'd have to scroll through all of them. Whereas on the right, I can quickly mark the checkbox for display selected tasks and see only the tasks that are currently selected for that particular role to help me figure out what I need to remove or maybe what roles I need to add, what tasks I need to add to that role. In addition to these features I've discussed, there are other new features including 20 new SQL Reporting Services reports, 11 new refreshable Excel reports, and there are a number of new features in the various GP modules. So we could talk about that all day if we wanted to. There's all kinds of new features. But I want to go over a few, some information about upgrading to GP 2010, including some myths versus facts that we've heard about upgrading. The first, the one I hear the most, is that if you upgrade to GP 2010, you have to upgrade to Management Reporter. The fact is that FRX is still supported with GP 2010. We can upgrade FRX at the same time as GP, or we can schedule the upgrade of Management Reporter for a later date. The second myth is that the upgrade will require a lot of time when your users cannot be working in GP. The fact is that during most upgrades, the actual downtime when users cannot be working in GP is about a day and a half. This amount of time can be longer for more complicated installs, but it can also be shorter for customers with simple solutions and a small number of workstations. The third myth is that GP 2010 will be difficult to learn. When you see and start using GP 2010, you will see that Microsoft made an effort to add some nice features to the new version, while also making sure that existing GP users will be comfortable navigating through the application for their day-to-day duties. In essence, GP 2010 is a more robust and functional version than version 10, but it'll still feel comfortable for your end users. So, a question about how much time is required for an upgrade. The time required can vary depending on customizations, third-party product installations, and the size and number of GP databases, to name a few reasons. With that said, we found that most upgrades will take between 3 to 5 days of consulting hours with the resource group. And I just want to make sure to point out again that staff downtime is only during the live upgrade portion. So you can expect about a day and a half of downtime for your users. Now I'd like to go over some of the hardware and software requirements for GP 2010. The following versions of software are no longer supported with GP 2010, including Microsoft SQL 2000, all versions of Windows 2000, and Office 2003. So in the Office 2003, if you're still on Office 2003, you can still use GP 2010. It's just that the integration points with Office won't work. So just keep that in mind. Now what is supported for the server operating system includes Windows Server 2003 or Windows Server 2008. And we want to point out a few recommendations from the resource group, including a dedicated data partition for the SQL data, 4 gigabytes of memory or more on your SQL server, and 1 gigabit Ethernet if possible. As far as SQL Server compatibility, GP 2010 works with SQL 2008, SQL 2008 R2, or with SQL 2005. But if you'll notice that I wanted to point out that the SQL reporting services reports and features, Business Analyzer, all those tools will only work with SQL 2008. So if you still have SQL 2005, GP 2010 will work with it, but you won't get those cool new SRS features that I pointed out in the slide deck. GP will work with 32-bit or 64-bit versions of SQL. And just a note there that SQL reporting services is required for the out-of-the-box SQL reports, charts, KPIs, and the Business Analyzer. As far as client compatibility, GP 2010 will still work with XP Pro, as long as it's on Service Pack 3 or later, in addition to Windows Vista and Windows 7. We also recommend that each workstation have at least 2 gigabytes of memory or more, and 1 gigabyte of Ethernet network connection if possible. So your steps during the upgrade: first, we'll have you run some trial balance reports both before and after the upgrade to make sure they match, which they always do, but it's a cautionary step we take. Print the dynamics.set files for each workstation. This step allows us to see any differences of modules installed from workstation to workstation, which we'll need to be aware of. And of course, grant access to the resource group to install on your server and workstations. After the upgrade, you'll want to thoroughly test all of the functionality that you use in GP to make sure it's working as expected. You'll want to learn the new features, which we help you with What's New training. And we recommend optimization training, which will allow us to look for any areas in your business processes we might be able to improve how you're working through GP. Just wanted to go over a few insider tips from my experience of upgrading GP. Number one is probably the most important tip. Consider upgrading to a new server. So sometimes I'll hear that customers are concerned that upgrading to a new server and upgrading GP at the same time will be too complicated. I found that exactly the opposite is true. It's a great time to be upgrading GP. So if you're looking at moving to a new server and you're thinking about upgrading to GP, it's really best to combine those two projects into one. It'll save you time and money. Next tip is to download the GP DVD ahead of time. It's available on Customer Source, and it's a pretty large download. Even if your download speeds are fast, sometimes the Microsoft download speed isn't so fast. So if you can do that ahead of time, it'll save us quite a bit of time. And also to make sure and download the latest GP 2010 Service Pack. Make sure your users are aware that GP will be down during the live upgrade for all of that first day and part of the second day. However, you don't really want to send them home, give them 2 days off, because they should be available for testing on the second day, so we'll want to make sure they can get logged in while we're still on site. So at this point, this concludes the presentation. I'm going to hand over to Sean to give us some information about some upcoming events, and then we'll be available to answer any questions you have regarding upgrades to GP 2010.